Introduction to Pymol tutorial. In this short tutorial, you'll learn how to download and display a set of coordinates and do some simple manipulations with Pymol. So first, let's look at the options for downloading coordinates. You have one of two options. You can go to the File menu, you click here, and open, and then you can open a set of coordinates that happen to be on your computer. The other option, which I'm going to use here, is called Fetch. And if you place the cursor here in the Pymol window, you can actually type the words fetch space and then give it the coordinate ID. And we're going to download those coordinates I showed you in the PDB tutorial, 3MHS. This is case insensitive. And I hit return, and voila, I get the coordinates displayed on my screen. Now this was a very complicated structure that we looked at earlier, and you can see this is quite a mess. So let me tell you some things we can do to simplify this view. So first of all, there are actually 5 proteins in this complex, and we can make that clearer by coloring the proteins different colors. And for that, we're going to go up into this menu over here where you see my cursor. So this is very important. You see 3MHS, and these are these coordinates here that this is controlling as I toggle it on and off by clicking it. You then have these parts of the menu, A, S, H, and L, and clicking on, and C, sorry, and clicking on any one of these, you'll get a set of options. The C icon here is to color your molecule. So let's click on C, and you see we get a set of drop-down options for coloring it. We can choose the color or the mode of coloring. And so to clarify this, I'm going to color this by chain. I'm going to make each chain a different color. And we're just going to pick the top default here. So we move over to the left, click that, and we've now colored each chain a different color. In another tutorial, we could learn how to choose those colors, but here we're just going to accept the defaults. Okay, that's better. So we at least can see the different colors here of our molecule. Now you notice that I'm moving the molecule around, and so I need to show you some of the simple mouse commands for manipulating the position of the molecule. So we're looking here at a view on a web page for how the mouse manipulates the molecule. I'm using the option for a 3-button mouse, which is the default in Pymol. And you'll see that the left button will allow you to rotate your molecule, the right button we're going to use to zoom it, and the middle button is going to be used to move the molecule. The trick with using this middle button, as I'll show you, is this is the rotating wheel, but you're going to hold that button down in order to move your set of coordinates, which you'll see shortly. So now we're back at the Pymol window, and to move this around, I'm holding down the left button, and now when I move the mouse with the left button held down, I move the molecule around. When I want to stop, I let the molecule go. And you can see by just play around with it, and you'll see that you can move these coordinates around, up and down and around. Now let's try zooming the molecule. So that's with the right button. And as I hold the button down, as I go up, I zoom in. As I go down, I zoom out. Now you'll notice we have some sort of chosen center about which everything is rotating, and that is the center of gravity of the protein, sorry, center of mass, and that was chosen by Pymol. But if you'd like to zoom in on a different part, we're going to have to choose a different center rotation point. And that is done, it'd be help if we zoom in a little bit. Let's say we want to zoom in over here. So let's place our cursor over this atom over here, and we're going to click the center button. And if I got it right on the atom, which you can see is a little tricky, I'm going to zoom in again and try that so you can see how it doesn't work. I finally got it to work. You can see I struggle with it. Some people seem to struggle less than I do. If you click it right on the center, so that was this atom over here, we're now going to rotate about this center of gravity, or that center there. We can move down and rotate it around. Again, the left button to rotate. And we can choose other atoms by simply clicking with that middle button. It'll move to the center and allow us to click up and down. If you've gotten hopelessly lost and just want to center it at the middle again, we're going to go back up to the menu here on the right to this menu A. We're going to click on A, and you'll see that A is the action button, and one of the actions you can choose from at the top is center. So let's choose it. Now we're back in the middle. Now this is very complicated. Let's say you want to look at just a ribbons diagram. Let's go up now to this menu that says S. S is for show. We'll click show, and it gives us options. Show as lines, that's the default that you're looking at. We're going to pick show as cartoon. So I have the cursor there, I click with the left button, and now we have a cartoon depiction. Now that's a little more like it. We're starting to be able to figure out what's going on here. But all those lines are getting in the way. So let's hide them for now. So we're going to go up here to the hide menu, and we're going to click with the left button, click hide with the left button, and now we're going to go down lines. We'll hide lines. Much better. There we go. But wait, we still have all those red dots. Those red dots are water molecules, and this is a high resolution structure, so it's got quite a few water molecules. You may need to look at these later if you're looking at contacts, but for an overall picture like this, it's a bit much. So let's go back to hide again. Left button, click hide. Let's go down here to waters. So let's hide all of those water molecules. There we go. Now we've hidden the water molecules. And now we have a very nice view of the structure here. So now you get a good overview about what's going on. So this is a very nice, pretty overview we have of our structure. But now that we have the big picture, let's go exploring. So to explore, we're going to want to zoom in on very specific regions of the structure, have a look at the side chains, and ultimately some of the interactions. So to do this, we need to turn our side chains back on. And so we're going to go again to the Show menu, left click, and highlight the lines over here. Now, I often like displaying both the cartoons and the lines until I figured out where I want to go, because the cartoon depiction helps me figure out where I am in the structure. So let's say we'd like to look at the active site. This is actually an enzyme, and the active site of the enzyme is in this green domain over here. Now I happen to know this because I'm familiar with the structure. And so I'm going to want to zoom in on the active site here. So I can do this in one of a number of ways. I can do the center click button and hope that I get right on that atom, and I got it the first time, but you saw earlier that I was having some trouble doing that. So I'm going to show you another way to navigate to that particular residue, and that takes advantage of our ability to display the amino acid sequence. So we're going to go up to the menu here at the very top that says Display. Click Display, and we're going to click Sequence On. And you'll now see a line that appears here in the top that will have every single protein. There's a scroll bar here. Hold down again the left button, and we move across, and you'll see the sequence of every single amino acid colored by those chains. So there's the green chain there. You can see that's quite a big protein. We now have the zinc atoms here that are associated with that domain. These red zeros are water molecules. Let's go past the waters. And now we have the blue protein, more waters, the magenta protein, the yellow, and so on. Now I happen to know that the tail, or the C-terminus of the yellow protein, is right in the active site. So I'm going to click here. I will explain what GLZ is another time. It's a modified C-terminus. I can click there with the left button. I can click on some, middle button again. I can click on some other residue there. You'll see that residue gets highlighted here as well. To get rid of the highlighting, move off to the left here, click with the left button again, and it's gone. So I'm going to center click here on the active site, and now I'm going to zoom in. Now this is really confusing looking. There's still an awful lot of my plane of view. So we're going to teach you about another thing you can do to simplify this, and that's your use of the center wheel. So I showed you how to use the wheel to center click and center on an atom. You can use the center wheel to limit the slab. That's in the depth, think of a line going through the center of the screen. There's a certain limit of the front and back that's come in view. And by manipulating the wheel, and just play with rolling it up and down, the slab either increases or decreases. So on my mouse, I'm rolling the wheel sort of away from me, and you can see it's limiting the number of residues that are being shown in view, and it's also increasing the depth cueing, which basically makes things look darker the farther away they are from you. So by manipulating the zoom and the depth cueing with that wheel, it now gets to be a bit more of a reasonable view. And now that I know where I am, I'm going to turn the cartoon off. So let's go back up to the menu here, go to H, left click hide, hide the cartoon. And now we're looking at the single lines here. Now let's do one more thing, and that's show you how to highlight certain residues that you may want to focus in on. And one way to do that is by selecting particular residues and changing their color or their depiction. So I'm again going to look at this active site. I know that I have a cysteine residue here that's actually covalently bonded to the C-terminus of a ubiquitin. So I'm going to highlight the cysteine by clicking on it. Now before I do that, I need to go down here to the lower right and make sure that this selecting option here is centered on residues. If you look here, if that says residues there, if I click on something, it will highlight a particular residue. Now I'm going to go back down here. You can see that if I click on residues, I get another option, chains. And if I have chains highlighted, if I now click on anything in the green protein, the entire green protein gets selected. If I want to get rid of that selection, I'll just move that cursor off somewhere in space, click again. Oops. Oh, okay, sorry. Click on the protein again, and it gets rid of the chain depiction. But let's go back to residue selection here. So if I'm going to keep clicking on chains, segments, objects, molecules, C-alphas, atoms. There we are, back to residues. That's what I wanted. So I'm going to click on the residue here. Let's say I'll click on this histidine here. I think this is interesting. I got that selected, and let me see if there are any other residues I want to look at. Let's just look at the two of those for now. So if I want to highlight those and make them stand out, making sure they stay with these red dots on them highlighted, I go back up here, and you'll see something new has appeared in the menu here, and that is SELE for select. And what this is a bar that controls only those residues that have been selected and that are highlighted in red. If it was the whole chain, it would be the whole chain. In this case, it's these two residues. And I'm going to go to the Show menu, left click, and I'm going to use this sticks depiction. Click Sticks. And now we have a nice sticks depiction here. And to get rid of the selection, I'm going to click in the background, and I've gotten rid of that. So you see, this is now nicely highlighted, these two residues that I happen to be interested in, and really makes them stand out. Now let's say I want to know a little more about those residues. I want to get an idea of how they fill space, how they pack against one another. Now you know that these stick depictions don't give you any idea of space, so let's use a different depiction, and that's going to be a space-filling molecule. So I first want to get rid of this sticks depiction here. And you see these aren't selected anymore. So this selection option here has now gone black here. I can select those two residues again, like this. And now I'm back here. I can control what happens to them. So I'm going to go to the Hide menu, H, and I'm going to hide that stick depiction again. So now I just have the lines. And now I'm going to go back to Show. And I have one of two options here to look at the space filling. The one that's less intensive computationally and won't slow your computer down is to go here to Dots. If I click on Dots, you now see that I get a sense of the van der Waals surface here, but just with the dots so that I can still see through to the sticks where the residues are while still knowing what the van der Waals surface of those are. So you can really see this is how these side chains look like in real life. They're really filling space and getting quite close to one another. Now the other option that I have is I'll turn off the dots depiction. So again, go to Hide, Dots, and I'm going to go to Show Spheres. And this is going to give me true hard van der Waals spheres here. And I'm going to click in the background to get rid of the selection there so it looks nicer. So these are now these big van der Waals spheres. They look very cool, don't they? And now you get a real sense of the space filling of the atoms.